Hey guys, what's up? My name is Anthony, and welcome to another edition of BNA Sports Talk. And today what I want to talk about is my passing leaders and my interceptions leaders for this upcoming year. I did my passing, yards leaders, and that video is kind of like bleh, kind of like not unmotivated, but kind of like, why does this kind of matter? Because the top, quarterbacks usually don't throw a bunch of yards because their team is winning and then their team's run. We all know yada, yada, yada. But these next guys, the top 5 interceptions, usually the better quarterbacks don't throw a lot of interceptions. Now, obviously, there are exceptions. You have quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers who throw like 2 interceptions, but then you have quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield, who you think is good right now, who, sometimes throw 20 interceptions, and we see rookies throw a lot. So today we're going to try to predict the top 5 interceptions leaders and the top 5 touchdown leaders. Now, let's start off with interceptions. Let's start off a little bit negative, I guess. And, so the criteria for this and how I decided them, okay, so you have to play. And you have to be healthy. You can't... you can't be injured all the time. So it's a guy that I'm going to trust is going to have a clean bill of health throughout the entire year. And, we kind of assume that for everybody. We have more injury-prone quarterbacks than the others. And they have to be the starter. There has to be no question pretty much that they're going to be the starter throughout the entire year. Baker Mayfield last year, he could throw 20 interceptions, but he's still going to be the quarterback because they invested so much in him. So without further ado, without any delay, let's get into my number 5, Sam Darnold. Now, the main thing I'm looking here is the schedule. You heard some good things about Denzel Mims and some of the wide receivers there, but you also heard yesterday that their backups beat the starters 27-0. So either their backups are really good or their starters are really bad. I'd say the starters are pretty bad. You have a rookie offensive line. Not going to give Sam Darnold a lot of time. You have Le'Veon Bell, but you can't really rely on your run game. Sam Darnold's going to be throwing it a lot in your schedule. Like I mentioned before, I don't know why I just didn't mention it at the top. You play the NFC West and you play the AFC West. So, those are 2 divisions where they have really good secondaries. Some of the best secondaries in the league. They play the NFC North. So they're some of the best secondaries in the league. And Sam Darnold is going to struggle against those because you have rookie wide receivers. You think Perryman is really going to do much. They don't really have that big-bodied guy that's going to be reliable for Sam Darnold. I hear some good things about their tight ends, but they haven't proven anything yet. And, Sam Darnold, he may not be healthy the entire year. That's definitely a question. May get mono again, may even get coronavirus. I'm not sure, but Darnold is number 5. Next is Dwayne Haskins. Now, Dwayne Haskins, he looks good in practice, but we always see that. The guy looks good in practice, and in the game he can't really do it. But he drives it down the field fairly well, and his team is going to be down in a lot of games, so he's going to be throwing it a lot. He's going to be one of those Phillip Rivers guys that ends up throwing a lot of interceptions late in the game. It's his second year. He's in his first 5-6 games, he had 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions split. So obviously it's not great. He's still considered pretty much a rookie. He's in a tough situation. He doesn't have great wide receivers besides a Terry McLaurin, maybe a Gandy Golden. But if you're just throwing to Terry McLaurin every single play, eventually you're going to throw picks. And if you're not throwing him, the wide receivers aren't good anyway, so they'll drop the ball and lands into the hands of the defense. The good thing about them is they play the NFC East that doesn't really have a good, secondary, and they have really good secondary people, or secondarymen or something. I don't know what you want to say about that. So next is Drew Lock. I have him at 15. I think he's going to struggle in that Pat Shurmur offense. Now, we see Daniel Jones. He threw 12 interceptions last year. Drew Lock, I think he's going to have a bunch of wide receivers, a bunch of options, and it's going to confuse him a little bit. Jawan James, I believe, opted out or he got injured. He's not going to be there. Their offensive line is weak. You no longer have Connor McGovern. And, you have Dalton Risner, somebody who's coming up a little bit, but I don't think they address their offensive line enough for me to be confident that Drew Lock is not going to throw a lot of interceptions. I have him just a tad above Haskins and Darnold. You can see the season start trending downward, and it's likely for Drew Lock to, be at the top of the league in interceptions. I mean, a lot of people are saying he's like a dark horse MVP candidate. Could be like a Carson Wentz, Patrick Mahomes. But he could struggle. And, he's done good with deep ball accuracy. He's athletic and whatever. But he definitely could struggle this year. But he's been impressive so far. I'm not saying that he's not. I'm a Giants fan. I'm not going to put Daniel Jones on this list. Sorry. Next is Tom Brady. Now, Tom Brady, this is definitely this weird that 16 interceptions is an upgrade from last year. But Jameis Winston threw 30. Tom Brady can throw 16. That cuts it almost in half. And I think that Brady is really going to struggle with camaraderie in the beginning. Now he's been working out. We see him in Tampa. Different things like that. But I think this Bruce Arians offense, the terminology, he's going to be a little bit slow to react. And he's going to throw some interceptions here. He's going to be relied to throw the ball a lot because they don't have that solid running game. And he's going to throw it deep. And what happens when you throw it deep? Tip passes happen. And he wants to win games. He's not worried about his touchdown to interception ratio. If he can have 40 touchdowns to 16 interceptions, he'll definitely take it. I think Brady's going to throw a lot of interceptions this year and probably towards the beginning of the season struggle, but then at the end, I think you're really going to see him come on. And then finally, Joe Burrow with 18 interceptions. People are like, oh, the Bengals have a top 5 wide receiver core. Really? You're really going to say that? With A.J. Green, who can't stay healthy. With the John Ross, who runs fast, but he can't stay on the field. Tyler Boyd. Are you really going to tell me about Auden Tate and how they're going to be really good? They haven't really proven it. Andy Dalton isn't a shitty quarterback, and these wide receivers haven't really been able to lift the quarterback that they've been playing for. Now, the offensive line is going to be a little bit of a struggle. And we'll see. But Joe Burrow, rookie, we're expecting him to throw a bunch of interceptions. He's the rookie that's going to be played the most. Justin Herbert, if he plays a lot, he can be on this list. So can Tua. But, Tua is a little bit faster mental processor. I think Joe Burrow, because it's not the strongest arm in the world, and he could throw a bunch of interceptions like that. All right, and let's move on to my top 5 touchdown leaders. Now, unlike interceptions, these are actually good quarterbacks. Not only good quarterbacks that are motivated with teams that are going to put their foot on the pedal. You saw Lamar Jackson last year. Motivated, good team, foot on the pedal. They were going all in, for that year. They really showed out. So it's going to be, the leaders are going to be somewhat like that. Let's take a look at the leaders from last year. Lamar Jackson, you had your Russell Wilsons of the world. I think Matt Ryan was up there as well. So good quarterbacks. So these aren't lucky guys. These aren't like your Jared Goffs who just throw a lot and because they're losing down in games. So I had Carson Wentz on my list, but this Andre Dillard deal is really concerning me. I thought the Eagles would be good, 9, 7, 10, 16. But Andre Dillard, what are you going to do? Move Jason Peters over to left tackle? Who plays that guard spot? Do you struggle based on the run? I don't know. I don't know what the Eagles are going to do here. They have a lot of things. So I'm taking Carson Wentz off the list, and I'm either putting Russell Wilson or Ben Roethlisberger on the list. I'm kind of doing this last second. I'm right before I record, I'm like, who do I choose? Wilson or Roethlisberger at that number 5 spot? And honestly, I think Russell Wilson because this offense is going to rely on him to pass way more. I think because this team is going to be losing in a bunch of games. I have them at 8-8, and I think that their offense is going to revolve a lot more around Russell Wilson because the Seahawks are going to want to keep him. He's like, I want to play 15 more years in this league. Seattle wants him to be in Seattle. Seattle wants him to be in Seattle as long as possible. And so I think Russell Wilson's going to be here. He's going to be just a tad under 30, which is about what he gets per year. That's what he does. Next is Daniel Jones. I think he's going to throw a bunch of touchdowns this year. You have an offensive line that's young, but in the first couple weeks he's going to struggle a little bit. But then you start facing these teams like the Bengals. He's going to throw 4 touchdowns against the Redskins. He faces some of these teams. We have a difficult schedule. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think there are some of these games that Daniel Jones is really going to thrive in, and I think those tougher games he's going to be able to do decently and throw at least 1 or 2 touchdowns. He was on pace for 30 last year. So I'm going to say he does 30. He gets better, but the tough schedule makes it different. New coaching, COVID, I'm saying he's par for the course. I'm not saying MVP. I'm saying he's going to be top 5 in touchdown passes, and that would be fairly impressive. I'm a Giants fan. I'm biased, whatever you want to say. Next, Matt Stafford, 31 touchdowns. I think the Lions are a very underrated team this year. Everyone has the Lions, they're very underrated, blah, 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 Kerryon Johnson, Marvin Jones. But really, their offensive line, you brought in Jonah Jackson to replace the loss that you had in Graham Glasgow, who, by the way, went to Denver. That's an addition I forgot about Denver. But I think that the Lions are going to be a good team this year. Just that defense. Do I trust Matt Patricia? Not that much. But I like Darrell Bevell, I like the addition last year. Matt Stafford was on a pace for 40 touchdowns last year. I mentioned it in my yards video. I think he's going to have a very prolific season if he could stay healthy, obviously. So next I have Tom Brady. If you check my stat line, he was in all 3 of my videos. 32 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, 4,800 yards. Now, I didn't do that on purpose. It kind of just ended up working that way. 2-to-1 interception ratio. He has a bunch of targets. Rob Gronkowski, a great red zone target. O.J. Howard, and he's got better at blocking, and those sort of things. But he's a good target down the field. He's got a little more sure-handed. But, you have a bunch of pieces on this offense. Tom Brady's going to throw at least 30, right? He's going to be number 2 in the league. You may get some MVP votes, but number 1, my MVP of the league ends up being Patrick Mahomes. They're not taking their foot off the pedal. They have a bad run game, and he's just going to throw it. Clyde Edwards-Helaire may throw 3, 4, 5 touchdowns to him. You have Sammy Watkins, who loves being on this team. Travis Kelce, we all know the guys. Andy Reid's going to dish up a lot of passing plays. Now, Andy Reid doesn't like to run the ball. He really doesn't. They were 27th last year and as far as rushing attempts, and they were winning a lot of games. It's not like they were down in a lot of games. So and they were playing with, Matt Moore. You'd figure, to take the ball out of the hands of Matt Moore. They didn't really solve the running back game. It's not like they brought in I guess a Tyreek Hill. I don't know, I can't think of a good running back. Saquon Barkley, how about that? It's just for a cheap example. And yeah, so I think that Patrick Mahomes leads the league in touchdowns with 54, 53-ish. I really think he shows out because he wants to be that face of the league. He just got a contract. He wants to show that he's worth that contract. Sometimes you see a guy get a contract and then he underperforms that same year. But, Patrick Mahomes is a different kind of cat. He's going to fight. He's going to try to win. After that Baltimore game, they may lose that Baltimore game, and then Patrick Mahomes just gets mad and just goes on like a Super Bowl kind of fury, attempt run. But I have the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to be good enough for Patrick Mahomes. So if you've been keeping track, Patrick Mahomes around 54 touchdowns. And I believe I had him just above 5,000 yards. So that's going to be well worth the MVP. May even throw some rushing touchdowns in there. But let me know. Let me know your top 5 touchdown, passers in the league. I'll probably do, I don't know whether I'm doing a quarterback preview for every single team, every single, quarterback. But, it'd be fun to do some, player props over, under, what I'm thinking. Usually just bet the under. I even bet the under on Russell Wilson. It was, a 30 touchdowns, and I have him, 29 in this video. But you just bet the under on all these touchdown props because they're, quarterback goes down, you automatically cover. And there's at least 5 quarterbacks that go down every single year. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.